Cornel West, whatever you think about his politics, whatever you think about his candidacy, he's an extremely smart guy. He attended Harvard during the heyday of its philosophy department, when Quine was teaching there, when Rawls was teaching there, what's his name? The guy who wrote Anarchy and Utopia. Oh, God.
Nozick?
Yeah, Nozick was there. He attended Harvard. He didn't choose an easy major. He majored in philosophy. He graduated in 3 years. That's no small achievement. And then he went to the top graduate school in philosophy in the country at the time, at Princeton. And when you hear him speak, his range is very impressive. And, we have an expression in English, a person's range being a mile wide and an inch deep. Cornell is not an inch deep. On the very few topics that he speaks on that I know, he knows the details. He does know the details. His range is spectacular, and he knows the details. I mean, sometimes I'm just blown away. And those white liberals, they did not like Cornell. No, they did not. The other day, you might know, Cornell wrote something pretty tough on Ukraine. And Keith Olbermann is his name, the fellow from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he wrote? It was very revealing to me. You may laugh, but I don't laugh. He wrote in a tweet, I don't even know what tweets are. I'm very far behind, but that's what's called.
They're called X's now.
Oh, are they?
Well, Musk rebranded Twitter to something called X, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. It sounds kind of stupid.
He wrote, this is what Keith, who's a paradigmatic liberal, an MSNBC type liberal. He wrote, quote, "fuck off." That was really insightful to me. Revealing to me, not insightful, revealing to me. Say what you want about Cornel West. He doesn't have a bad word to say about anybody. He can go on with Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, which is the past few weeks. What's his name? Anderson Cooper. Oh, my brother, we had so many wonderful times together. Oh, my sister, I still remember that wonderful time. He's just a very gregarious, nice guy. Now, I'll admit, I'm not. And I'm not particularly generous in my praise, which Cornell always is, Dr. West always is. And Cornel West is the top African-American intellectual in the country. Had he been more serious in his intellectual endeavors, it's a choice he made in life. He certainly could have, I won't say would have, but certainly he could have ranked right up there with Dr. Du Bois. And it was striking to me the vulgarity of this woke liberal, Keith Olbermann. So woke, the type that's so woke they put you to sleep. And he says, "fuck off" to Cornel West. That's the visceral hatred for somebody who's not only your equal, but guess what? You're better. You're better. They can't deal with that. Cornell is smarter than them.
I don't really share your view of Cornel West for different. First of all, the idea that he's the top African American intellectual in America. Just by your own definition, he has to have written things for that to be the case, right? You can't just be an intellectual because you go on talk shows. or that you have correct opinions or this and that. I recently in the last couple of weeks reread Race Matters. I first read it when I was a teenager, and I remember at the time it was around the same period that I read authors like George Jackson, a lot of Black Panther writing, Du Bois. And I remember coming upon Cornel West because he was also, being bandied at the time as the top intellectual. And I couldn't remember anything about the book 2 weeks after I finished it. And I reread it in the last couple of weeks. And it's not, it's not good writing. I will say that he's probably gotten worse as a writer over time because he's much more he's much more performative these days. When you look at the first preface versus the 2001 preface versus the 2017 introduction that he wrote, some of that is getting worse. But I think to be the top intellectual, he would have had to have some sort of output. And I think I do find it kind of suspicious that all these people like Tucker Carlson or Ingram, why are they bringing him on specifically? Is it simply because like he's willing to go on, or is it simply because like does he not push back enough? I mean, I don't really watch his appearances on these shows, but why him? Why do they care so much to bring him on?
Obvious, they're very well. I don't want to evade any questions that you raised because that's cowardly, and I don't want to be cowardly. I said I was very careful with what I said. I said he probably could have been another Du Bois. He had the training. He worked hard. His range is dazzling, in my opinion. I've listened to a lot of him. And the depth, it's not just range, it's also the depth is very impressive. However, I said he made his choice, and his choice was not to be a conventional, rigorous, exacting scholar. That was a choice that he made with his life. Now, I still believe, I'm pretty conventional about these sorts of things. He has a very impressive academic pedigree, and from everything I can discern, there's a real intelligence there. Did he do what a conventional scholar would have done with that intelligence? No, the answer is no. And he's very honest about that. He said, that's not what I decided to do with my life. So I think both things could be true. He had the potential. He chose a different path in life. Which I personally regret, but it's his life, not my life. But we'll leave that aside for the moment. Do you think Keith Olbermann, who you probably know a lot better than me because I don't follow these freaks.
I just remember him from like the 2017, Trump resistance stuff, and he was horrible then. I'm sure he's still horrible now.
You think he would have wrote "fuck you" to Barack Obama?
Of course not.
Of course not. They love Obama because he's so mediocre. And they feel very uncomfortable about Cornell because he can match wits with them.
I do agree that if Cornel West would, I don't know, debate Oberman on Ukraine or Israel-Palestine, he would win that debate. I actually do think he does well in those kinds of formats. Also, I mean, even in Race Matters, just, to put that into perspective, it was a book from 1993, and I was pretty surprised to read all his commentary there. I mean, it wasn't extensive, but he does talk about Palestine. He specifically mentions, instead of Israel, he uses the word Palestine. And these are things that, especially back then when, AIPAC was at the peak of its powers, he could have gotten into serious trouble. I don't even think he was he a tenured professor back then? He might not have been. So the fact is, he has taken positions throughout his life that are not positions that Obama would have ever taken. And I mean, I have plenty of misgivings about Cornel West, among other things too. But as it stands, like if he does run in the Green Party in 2024, I'm almost certain to vote for him over the alternatives. Partly because, I mean, I think he could rally a significant enough percentage of the Democratic vote, where maybe Democrats will have to do something with the Green Party platform, or it's just going to be yet another crack in the Democratic Party system, right? Long term, I just want to see the dissolution of all of that before us. So, from that kind of practical standpoint, I would. But at the same time, if you were to ask me, do I think that Cornel West has exactly the kind of judgment that I would want from somebody as president? Maybe not. But then again, Jill Stein is also somebody whose judgment I don't trust, but I did vote for her. Howie Hawkins is somebody whose judgment that I don't really trust, but I did vote for him in 2020. So I have to apply a similar standard across the board in that regard.
Yeah, I don't want, as I said, one can have an opinion about Cornell's politics or his candidacy. I don't think his current presidential run. I don't think one can seriously dispute his intelligence. And as I said, it's been very striking to me, the kind of vulgarity that's being dished out at him. If you said those things to me, I'd say, okay, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Cornell. Cornell is not the kind of guy who goes for the jugular. And there was such vitriol and anger, fuck off, as if, who do you think you are, you nigger, talking about Ukraine? Not even a little bit too uppity. This is for white liberals. This is our bailiwick, So,
Yeah.